Thanks, everyone, and welcome on this webinar. We really appreciate your time, and we're excited to be talking to all of you. And hopefully, this will be time well spent for all of you. Um, so my name is Mag Saad. We have another slide later where we're going to introduce ourselves a little bit more formally. But I'm the CEO of Come to Agreement, a company that provides unique solutions to the underserved family law industry. These are innovative products that we hope we can share with you today. So this is the first is myself. I'm the president and CEO. As I mentioned, I have over 20 years of experience in operations management and consulting, management consulting, coaching executives of multi-million and multi-billion-dollar organizations in multiple industries. I have an engineering degree from Montreal and a master's certificate in project management. And pleased to tell you that as of today, I actually finalized my executive MBA. So just received my final marks for it from Quantic School of Business. And over to you, Steve.
Yeah, hi, my name is Stephen Rosenfield. I've been a family mediator since 1999 in the GTA, a member with OAFM for many years, spoken at some different association conferences, both in Canada and the States. And we're creating a whole suite of products geared to help people going through separation divorce for either the moms, the dads, the children in fair and responsible ways based on my mediation practice. So I hope you enjoy what we're going to be talking about today, and I hope you find it very interesting for your own mediation practices.
Thanks, Steve. So what does Come to Agreement try and address? Well, Stephen, as he mentioned, he's had a lot of experience over the years doing family mediation himself, and several problems emerged that he's noticed and tried to capitalize on, and we ended up creating this company for him. We noticed that when parents separate, communication shifts to anger, or it becomes awkward or non-existent. And this is a serious problem when everybody realizes that 40% of Canadian marriages end in divorce. There's a universal shift also to joint custody and shared parenting. The percentage of mothers, as a matter of fact, that were awarded sole custody dropped from 80% to 42% over a 20-year period. And for children, not knowing which house they'll sleep in next and which friends they're going to be with next week can be very confusing and very frustrating. But not just for the children, for the parents as well, because it leaves them without complete knowledge of their children's needs. They only spend 50% of their time with them, and sometimes less. In addition to that, I think the latest statistics was that over 40 million parents deal with parenting issues because children in broken families tend to experience higher than average mental health issues and also educational issues. So with all these problems that we try to focus on, the solution here is Come to Agreement. Come to Agreement not just as a product or two, but as a platform. We've really created this comprehensive go-to platform with subject matter information that helps both co-parents as well as family law professionals, including family mediators such as yourselves. We also have a suite of separation and divorce products, and we're adding to them, as we'll show you a little later in this presentation. These are custom-built products for the various stages of the separation journey, whether it's before the separation even comes up, when it's still just a thought in one's head, to the point where someone is maybe shocked by the revelation that the other partner now wants to separate, to the point where they're now actually separated, and I have to deal with the issues of keeping in touch with what's happening to their children or their financials, or finally when a court order is now in effect and they have to deal with the aftermath of that. So we'll start getting into those products and introducing them to you. This product here is My Two Families. It's called My Two Families, and it's our lead generation tool. It's a collaboration ecosystem. It's not just a product or a tool. It's really a fully comprehensive ecosystem. And as you can see there on the left-hand side, you can see all the various modules. I know it might be hard to see the small writing there, but we'll touch on some of those. The intent of this tool is to keep, or that ecosystem is to keep both sides of the family apprised of what's happening with the children. Here you can see the shared family calendar. And you can see on the top here where who each child is going to be with. They're going to be with the father, Tim, until Monday, July 5th. And then after that, they're going to go to the mother, Jill. That's the green bar there, and so on. And it could be different for each child. I'll let Stephen talk a little bit in more detail about the product, but actually, Steve, why don't you go ahead and explain also the parental schedule and how it works?
Okay, so we've taken the approach that children can be very different under different circumstances based on the different ages of the kids. In my mediation practice, a lot of my clients have kids with ADHD and very hard to be able to get them to go to the other parents sometimes. The difference between a mom taking the children or a child over to dad or having dad pick up the children or a child from mom, where there's two parents present to help get them into the car, can be huge. So it's a matter of creating opportunities that are more successful. So we've taken the approach that you can have custom schedules by all the kids, set schedules by all the kids, or custom schedules on an individual child basis. Something as simple as, let's say the kids are 50-50 with both mom and with dad, but on a 50-50 basis, they can have different schedules of each child, so that mom has a little bit of time with the daughter on a one-to-one basis, and dad has time with the son on a one-to-one basis, alternating. So let's say it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with mom, Wednesday, one child's with mom and one child's with dad, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, for example, with dad. So it gives an opportunity to have unusual or unique schedules. They can be repeated on numerous occasions. They can be set over, on a 14-day schedule for X number of occurrences. So we have a really great customized solution where both parents have to also approve the schedules. It can even be set up in such a way that a family mediator can create the schedule for the child, or sorry, for the parents, and both parents can end up approving it before it gets put onto the parenting schedule. Another really nice feature we have is schedules are always changing. Something comes up, dad's schedule changes, or there's a school holiday, or one of the parents is away on business. We have the ability to overwrite on top of that particular schedule and make changes on the fly, which have to be approved. So we have a very good approval or denial record keeping system, which is important because hopefully it's going to be approved most of the time. But certainly there's the ability to track when there's an ordinary parent who always says no to everything. That's in our requests module. Then we get into the money manager side. The money manager is a phenomenal tool where we keep records on a transactional basis, where parents can share different expenses for an individual child or all the children at one time on different percentages, track the approval process, if something's pending, if it has been paid, if it has to be reimbursed, if dad pays a certain proportion to, let's say, a daycare or childcare organization directly, and mom also has to pay to that organization directly. It can be done that way, or it can be paid as a reimbursement to whoever also paid for it. We also have the ability to track a record of the expense in terms of downloading from the computer to add it to the file. So it's a really, really good system set up on with the expense dates and so forth. You can do sorts by child, sorts by type of category of expense, sorts by for income tax purposes. We have a really good system for that as well.
Thanks, Steve. And not just to mention that there's, as I mentioned on the left-hand side, if you can read this, there's also a media center where family members can share pictures, videos, stuff like that. There's also a school planner and a homework planner to allow both parents to be involved in their children's lives during school and afterwards with their homeworks. There's a place where you can share notes and documents. These could be health documents for the children, OHIP cards, for example, passports, stuff like that, that both parents need access to, but may not have physical access to all the time. So this is, again, there's more than that there as well, but these are kind of the key functions in there, and we're continuing to build on that ecosystem as well.
Yeah, one thing I want to add in, Mag, is that A lot of the modules have archival systems so that it works on the basis that if one party puts something on that's really quite derogatory, they're going to be caught. So we're trying to push people to act more appropriately, more fairly. It's based on an equitable system. Many of the modules have the ability to have family folders, but you can also create personal folders. So for example, if the kid's schedule goes on to the family calendar, there may be times when certain activities don't need to be approved because the kids are going to be with mom to do a certain activity, and she doesn't want dad to know what activity the kids are going to be doing at that particular time with her, and she can create her own family folder specifically for, let's say, the children, or if she wants to start sharing with information with other lawyers or with other professionals and so forth. So we have a great deal of flexibility, not just you put the information on and it always shows. You can also set up for a lot of the modules edit status on an individual user basis for that module, or you can have a view only status, or you can even have a private status where you don't want someone to see that module at all.
And I brought back this slide to show you what Steve is talking about. So here you can see shared calendars. This is a family shared calendars in blue. And so you can see all these items that are blue are shared. But then down below here, there is private calendars. I don't know if you can see my mouse. I'm sorry, I'm pointing, but on the left-hand side, you can see under private calendars, you can see personal Jill. So that's Jill's personal calendar in green. And so all the green items in the calendar are private, only she can see. So I'm going to pause here for a minute and just say on this product, the My Two Families, do you have any questions before we move on to the next one?
And we should say, Mag, that the price is very competitive as well. It's $15 a month for the whole family ecosystem, or it's $150 a year. These are in Canadian dollars.
I was just going to say that I remember you saying the prices, and it does seem like really competitive and Canadian based, right? So this is a key difference for you.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more also later on when we get to the business model. I'll explain how we differentiate ourselves from the competition as well.
Are you going to talk? I think you were talking about like one person paying versus two and that sort of thing. That's
Absolutely.
You're gonna, yeah, okay.
Exactly, Marianne. Yes.
Okay.
Most of our competition basically force both co-parents to sign in for a license each. And so if one of them decides, no, it's not for me, I don't want it, well, then you've broken the system. Then it doesn't work because you need both sides. What we do instead is we say, no, only one of you has to agree and pay for that subscription. That subscription goes for the whole family. So the entire family then gets on the same platform for free.
I see. Okay, good. And then even if a partner doesn't participate, one parent could use this as a sort of just keeping track of things and
absolutely. And it's not just the two parents, it's also the grandparents, the uncles, the aunts, whoever else is taking care of the kids. It's also the professionals, whether they're family lawyers or mediators or therapists or other professionals.
And so, they can be invited to view the shared calendar. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on a technical basis, if mom decides to invite her lawyer, she sets the permissions for her lawyer to see the various bits of information the way she wants to have it set up. Dad has no control over that part of it. Likewise, if dad invites his mother or his father who are helping out pick up the kids after school, so he's working, he sets the permissions for his mom and dad to be on each individual module. Mom has no control over that either.
Okay. Does that ever cause any tricky bits with like someone adding their new partner in, or is that
always?
Always, yeah. I just thought of that.
It all depends on when parents separate. From a mediation point of view, when parents separate, the question really becomes: have they separated in a reasonable way, or have they separated in a contentious way? If dad had an affair and mom's really angry, and dad says, "Well, I've got a girlfriend now. I want to invite the kids to see the girlfriend." I mean, that becomes a huge issue in terms of mediation or parenting coordination or family law. I mean, there's so many different aspects to this, whether it's appropriate, whether it's not appropriate, whether the kids are ready to meet a girlfriend or not, whether it should be delayed by 6 months and so forth. There's so many different parts of family law that make it complex.
And this is a related question from Vicky about the tone monitor. You mentioned something about it, sort of the messages would be sort of cleansed in some way. Is that right?
Well, tone monitor is the term that our family wizard uses, that there's a charge for. With
Okay.
ours, it's a little bit different. What we've done is we've created a platform where, let's say that mom has signed up to have My Two Families for the ecosystem. Now, it doesn't mean to say that dad doesn't have to reimburse her $750 a month, or it could be a percentage of income. If dad is $60,000 a year and mom's 40,000, dad might end up reimbursing mom by $9 a month, or $90 out of the $150. So it all depends on what their personal arrangements are. But in terms of the actual information, whoever creates that particular data owns that particular input of information. So they have the control over it. But if it's, let's say dad creates a piece of data on the notes or in a document, and he sends a derogatory comment and then he deletes it shortly thereafter, mom then can keep a record of that in the archive. So at no point in time can dad get send derogatory information over that can really hurt mom and then withdraw it, so that it's confusing. So it's a record keeping system that's based on honesty and integrity.
So record keeping, like if you say something nasty to somebody and then you erase it, there'd still be a record that you said something
Correct.
that wasn't very nice. And
Correct.
so, okay. And so there's a paper trail rather than a like a stopping you from saying things, sort of AI piece. Yeah.
Think of it this way. It's sort of like a bank account. If you write a check and the check doesn't clear, it's going to show that it bounced, and there's a record on there on a permanent basis.
Okay. 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 I get it. So no tone monitor, but a record of all behavior.
Yeah, and the tone monitor with our family wizard is really set up for their message board as opposed to for each
Other
individual
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
module.
And the parents are pre-informed, so that the idea is to try and get them to collaborate, not to catch them doing something awful, but to let them know that this is being audited, so that they understand there's a trail there, and so that they can monitor their own behavior rather than have somebody monitor it for them.
Right. So self-determination there is sort of key. You're putting the responsibility in the hands of the parents, and you're just saying like, hey, don't write something that you might regret because it's there permanently, like on Facebook or whatever.
Exactly.
I don't even know if that's the way
Yeah.
Facebook.
Now, one thing I can say is that if dad writes something derogatory and leaves it on the site, mom does have the right to remove it from her own view.
Okay. Okay.
So it goes into the archive section, but she doesn't have to see it.
She doesn't have to see it. Okay. Okay. That's good. That's helpful. Alana has a question. Can you change the word shared setting such that the parents need to approve a third person seeing the shared components of the platform?
Well, depending on who the person is. So, for example, if there are 3 children, and let's say one's 14, one's 11, and one's 8 years old, they may all have different permission settings on an individual basis based on their maturity. So our system sets up that mom and dad do have the right to change the permission settings to view only or edit status, but they have to agree on that. So both the kids are always the same with mom or with dad. But if mom decides to invite her lawyer then would be given the ability to see the various modules based on what mom wants them to see. Or if dad invites his mom and dad, the grandparents, they can have that. Just so you know, the only module that a family mediator or a family lawyer or a family law professional can actually edit is the parenting schedule, where a parenting schedule can be created for both parties or for one party and approved by the second party. So we want to take away the risk that some let's just call it unscrupulous lawyers might go and change records for court purposes to give their client an advantage. We've taken away that ability for anybody to make a record that's pro for their own individual client.
And even the parenting schedule, it's not really editable per se. They just can create one, but it's in draft until both parents approve it.
Say it's okay.
And then it becomes part of the calendar.
Okay. An extension to the question, is the parent notified when a third party has accessed the shared components? So I imagine this being a huge part of the mediation. If you're using this, and be like, okay, who's invited, who knows when, who's invited. So Alana's question sort of was in my head too.
Yeah, Alana, that's a great question. Thank you. What I can say is if mom decides to invite somebody, dad is going to be informed. If dad invites somebody, mom's going to be informed. It has nothing to do with who is paying. It has strictly to do with two co-parents. And if they invite somebody, the other parent is always informed so they know who the users are.
Nice. Okay. Thanks very much. Any other questions? I think you've got a continuation, don't you, Meg?
Yeah, I'm going to get into the insurance product, and then we'll talk about the company in general.
Okay. Okay, excellent. So you can keep your questions going in the chat. I'll monitor. So, but I'll turn it back over to you. I'll mute myself. Thanks, Meg and Stephen.
Thank you. All right, so moving into the insurance product, this is a little bit of a busy slide, but I'll try and break it down. So this is our flagship offering. And we call it rebalancing beneficiary support insurance because that's the key point about that policy product is that it rebalances itself. And I'll explain how in a second. If you imagine the left bar there, the blue bar, as the amount of support payments that one of the two spouses need to give to their other spouse, typically the insurance coverage would have to be about the same amount or more. But the problem is, as support payments are paid out and decrease over time, what we do is we allow the insurance coverage to also decline by an equal amount to match the remaining support payments, so that the person who's getting the benefit is actually getting what they're entitled to. The balance of that coverage is then allocated to someone else. That someone else can be the children, can be a new partner, it can be anybody for that matter. So you end up being fair to both co-parents, to both sides of the equation. The one person who's paying is getting the best return for the investment because they're able to allocate a portion of that, a growing portion of that, to someone else. The person who's getting the benefit is being supported and secured. Their benefits are being secured, but only to the amount that they're really entitled to, which is the remaining amount of the support payments. So we tried our best to make it fair for both co-parents, but we also had clearly in mind, we wanted to make it touch-free for the insurance carriers. So when we talked to those insurance carriers, and you can see those big names on the left-hand side, those are 7 carriers that have come back and said, yes, this looks good. We support this. We're going to endorse it. And they've actually signed off on our both our process and our forms, and we're now signed up with them. So you can see Manulife, Canada Life, Forsters, and CPP, as well as RBC and Specialty Life and Empire Life. There's one company that we're still talking to that may be added to the list, but it's a company that we already can do business with anyways, and that's Industrial Alliance. But I didn't want to add the name until we officially have their agreement. So this, yeah, I'll move on actually, and I'll let Steve talk about the specifics of how it works behind the scenes. But before I leave that slide, I just wanted to point out that we also have a patent pending on both products, and more specifically on insurance. So I have a provisional patent already, and it's going to be formal within a few months. So Steve, you want to explain how both the calculator and the schedule work?
Sure. So typically, there are 2 ways of looking at support payments. You go into DivorceMate, which I've used for years and years and years. You check the box off. It tells you how much the lump sum spouse support would be, or it shows you how much the insurance coverage should be based on the agreement. What we've done is we've created a very simple calculator based on 5 criteria. The first criteria is child support. So it can be basically, it's done on the basis of as children slide off, and it's up to the parents or the agreement to determine the length of time that each child is going to be requiring support for. So if you have a 14-year-old, support will start to decline somewhat for that child as they get older, but you could also have an 8-year-old or a 6-year-old that still requires support. So basically, you show how many dollars of support it is on a monthly basis. You then add in the children. There's 2 kids in this case. One has 12.6 years, one has 10.2 years left, and the total amount of support payments for child support based on this scenario is $102,600. Very simple calculation. This part of it really only takes 2 minutes to do, less than that probably. Then we have the second category, which we're not showing here, is for children's special expenses. All of the Section 7 expenses. Sometimes in some agreements, a person says, I'll pay X number of dollars a month, or sometimes in certain agreements, you share the expenses back and forth between the parents. The third category, which is C, would talk about the children's university costs or their future special expenses. So we show that. Then we have, in D, the next slide, it shows the spousal support or alimony, as many people still refer to it in Canada, even though it's an American term, and how many months at a certain number of dollars. We even have the ability to have equalization payments or any other debt repayments built into this calculation. We then add up those 5 different categories. It could be only 2 categories, it could be 5 categories. It gives us the number of dollars. Then we can add in for a cost of living adjustment. Typically in most separation agreements, there's a certain number of dollars based on COLA. It could be 2%, it could be 1.8%, it could be 3.6%, which is what the cost of living adjustment is today. And it adds up to that amount. Then we have a suggested amount of insurance. We even have the ability to have critical illness insurance, that in the event that mom gets sick or dad gets sick and can't work, that there's the ability to pay support payments for that amount based on either a net amount or based on a net amount plus COLA to build it in for 1 year or for 2 years. So if somebody gets sick, and they can keep their support payments going for a length of time. I think this is really important. We also solve some other family law problems, which is really significant. One of the things that happens often in family law, dad stops paying insurance or mom stops paying insurance, and the other parent doesn't even know that the insurance is not being paid for. Typically in the divorce mate sections of insurance, there's a lot of clauses that talk about in the event that support is going to lapse, the other party, the support beneficiary, has the right to keep the payments going. They have the ability to collect any costs associated with it, including legal costs. And it's wonderful legalese, but often parents don't even know that there's no insurance. So we have created an opportunity with the insurance companies. It's almost a marriage between insurance law and family law, so that in the event the insurance policy is going to lapse for whatever reason, if both parties have agreed to it, in the schedule that gets attached to both the insurance policy and to the separation agreement or the court order, that we can inform the support beneficiaries so they actually know the policy is going to lapse and they can keep the policy in good stead by making those payments. I think this is a really significant part of what we're doing, is trying to make it fair for both parties in an equitable manner. Another problem in family law often is that at the conclusion of the support agreement, that the insurance now is still kept up to date, but mom or dad doesn't waive the irrevocability part of family law. So now the owner of the policy can't do anything with the policy. They have to let it go. Now they're 10 years older or 12 years older. They may have a health problem and they can't get life insurance. With ours, there's a clause that says at the conclusion of the support agreement, whenever that is, it could be a 20-year term policy, or it could be a 15 or 10-year term policy, but at the end of the support agreement, there's a certain date, and on that date, it transfers back from irrevocable to revocable, thereby solving a problem in family law, which is really significant. Now, let's say dad has an insurance policy. He now has control over his own insurance policy, owing no money to mom because the support payments have now ended, assuming that dad was paying the support to mom. And he now has control over his insurance policy. If he wants to renew it when it comes up for renewal, he has full control over that. So these are really important problems that we solve in family law. There's nothing worse than somebody having a policy that lapses, that person passes away, and the other party, the support beneficiary, doesn't even know anything about it. When the person passes away, instead of the support beneficiary getting money that's owed to them, they get wiped out and the kids get wiped out. So it's meant to solve problems that are very easy to do. From a mediation point of view, you don't need to understand the complexities of what we're doing. Just give us a call and we can put together the schedule for you that gets attached to the separation agreement or the divorce order. both parties sign off on it. You as a mediator can sign off on it as a witness to it. The family lawyers could sign off on it, and it gets attached, as I said, to the insurance policy, giving direction to the insurance carrier to pay out a certain amount. As Meg said earlier, when, let's say, to make it very simple, the $10,000 of support payments are made on a yearly basis for 10 years that covers all the support payments. That could be $100,000 of support. If the party passes away after 5 years, only 50% of that support is still owed. So in this case, 50% would be $50,000 going to the support beneficiary and $50,000 going to secondary rebalancing beneficiaries, such as children or perhaps a new partner. There's always direction to the insurance carrier as to who to pay what amounts to. It could even be split as secondary beneficiaries on a certain percentage basis, 50% of the rebalancing portion going to a new partner and 25% going to each child, or in any percentage that's appropriate. It could be a child that has some medical problems. You want to leave more money to that child than to a different child to cover expenses in the event that one party passes away. So we've tried to solve problems, and it really works in a great way that's fair for both parties and fair in the family law industry.
Stephen, I think we have a question from Carl.
Sure.
Carl, do you want to speak up?
Yeah, Carl can
Hi.
unmute himself if he wants. Is that okay, Carl?
I'm good. Yeah, no, I couldn't find mute.
Okay.
All right, so I have a few questions. I hope you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely, Carl.
So from the insurance standpoint, what product are you guys using?
We are using whatever that insurance carrier is selling. So if it's a 10-year term, if it's a 15-year term, whatever it is, the cost is exactly the same. So we're taking an existing product, we're not modifying it all for any insurance carrier, so it's really easy for them to administer. All we're basically doing is we're setting a schedule of that rebalances that the carriers have accepted from an insurance perspective and make sure it's compliant with all the various legal insurance laws that they have to abide by.
All right, so what you're saying is that you're guys putting a schedule together to change the beneficiary designation percentages based on the amount of support still owed per calendar year, per anniversary date, per.
Carl, let me show you actually this slide here. So this shows by year, but it works also by month. If you think of this column, first column there as the months, that would just work just as well. In this case, we're showing a case where Nancy Wall is the ex-spouse that is getting support benefits. Frank Jr. and Ninette are the two children of the father who get the secondary benefits, if you wish. And between the three of them, the policy adds up to $300,000. But Nancy only gets $245,000 at the beginning. That is the amount that was, let's say, dictated by the court. And so she gets $245,000, but that declines over time as payments get made to her, such that by year 13, midway through year 13, that amount is paid off. And for the remainder duration of the policy, Nancy gets nothing more because she's now gotten paid all of her support payments already. And the full policy face value, which is $300,000, is now split between Frank and Ninette. In this case, we're showing a bigger amount for Frank only because we're assuming that Frank requires more, has special needs, for example, and so therefore may need a higher percentage. So that percentage gets determined.
Who's doing the rebalancing of the beneficiaries then? You guys? I mean, is the client doing that, or is the insurance companies coming forward and doing that for you?
So the client tells us how they want it split. We do the math, we do the calculator, and we come up with that schedule that gets signed by both parents and then gets appended to the policy. So the insurance policy, the insurance carrier does not do anything with this at all. They simply follow it when it's time to get paid. So if the person was to be deceased, let's say in year 8, they would simply look down here and say, oh, okay, Nancy's owed $101,585. Frank Jr. is owed $119,000. Ninette is owed $79,000, and so on.
Okay, so when it's in a situation, because at the very beginning, we were talking about, there's been a huge shift from going 80% of people, females obtaining full, well, primary decision-making, primary parenting, whatever it is called now. It's been skewed. So in a situation where both parties are actually paying for support, though, are we getting two individual policies?
Potentially, yes. The idea here is this is based on just one policy with one side paying the other, but taking advantage of the fact that they can now use our RBSI model to rebalance that factor. But to answer your question, yes, you could have two policies, one for each one. Absolutely.
So what about the situation where instead of I own the policy to pay for my obligations, my ex-wife owns a policy on me to cover my obligations, and the premiums are associated with the payments. This way, we never have to worry about any kind of missed payments or anything like that. So if she doesn't pay for it, well, that was her own fault, not mine.
Absolutely. I mean, what we're doing is we're taking anything to do with life insurance. We're selling the insurance policy. We have insurance advisor, licensed insurance advisors working for Come to Agreement. So we're not able to sell a policy ourselves because we don't have the actual provincial licenses ourselves. The company is licensed, but whatever the direction is that's required for that particular agreement, we can take some direction from the lawyer, we can take some direction from the family mediator, or we can take some direction from the individual person who is going to be insured. Or in your case, as you mentioned, we could even take direction from the policy owner, which could be also the support beneficiary. So all we're doing is we're representing Manulife or Canada Life or Foresters or Empire Life or Canada Protection Plan or RBC and so forth with their existing products that they're selling. And we're just adding on the benefits of three things: the rebalancing portion, the waiver of the irrevocability at the conclusion, and the notification system.
Does that answer your question, Carl?
Well, okay, so just to give you a quick, I'm life licensed, have been for 18 years. So I was just curious of what you were looking to do there, and it looks okay.
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 I'm not going to get into it because I have my ways of doing it and so forth. It's a cool concept. I was just surprised that you're actually getting the insurance carriers on board to put in a contract where there's a rebalancing of beneficiaries. I was just surprised that they're actually going for that.
Yeah, I know. You know what? Because it's a fairly regulated industry. It took us a few months to get there, but yes, we were able to get all those signed seven. Once they understood the underlying concept, and once they understood how touch-free it is for them, but how solid it is legally, we've got a lot of lawyers involved to make sure that everything is legally endorsed and supported. They were happy to sign on board and allow this to happen and work with them.
Well, because I know that whole irrevocable situation is such a cluster F afterwards, and I've never recommended anyone ever put irrevocable on any beneficiary designation just because it causes so many issues, say from a state situation or a divorce situation or any kind of situation. It just causes so many headaches. I'm not exactly sure why we even came up with that notion. I kind of know, but again, from an insurance and financial planning situation, we just like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, no, you know what? You make a very valid point, and we actually found that that our way to address it has actually pleased a lot, because like we have a case, for example, where the person was mandated by court to make it irrevocable. So it's not like they had a choice; that it was a court order, right? And
Right.
we had to allow for that. So what we're trying to do is not enforce any of these, but allow for all of these conditions to be supported, so that they can get, again, a fair, equitable treatment at the end of the day. But our process manages that just as smoothly as revocable ones as well.
So
And to
last
make-
question for you, just so you guys can continue on then. If you're able to do this, does that mean I can put an amendment together as well with these insurance companies and they'll what's the word I'm looking for? Acknowledge it as well, or does it have to go through you guys?
For you to use these products, you'd have to go through us. So we've got them to sign that this is our product and they'll support it with us. But you know what? I'm happy to talk to you offline if
Okay.
there's a way that you think we can work together. More than happy to explore that with you.
I will
Thanks-
email you
thanks,
or we'll
Carl.
chat. Sorry,
Thanks, Carl.
Marianne.
You
Okay.
know what? Kathy brought up a point. I just want to make sure we had time for it. And I was sitting here thinking the same thing. Sometimes, people are very reticent to think about, assigning insurance. And we all write in those clauses about, that from time to time, the couple can decide to change the insurance amounts, but it's never as specific as this. So Kathy points out, it could reduce conflict. You could talk about, like, when you see that line 15 at 0, and then you're like, oh, okay, so there's sort of light at the end of the tunnel for some parents in a tough situation. So I see the conflict sort of avoidance and diminishing as a result of this tool. Another question from Marie France. She's asking, as this is a Canadian product, is there French planned, or is it already there? I say quietly.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, both, specifically my two families product, we do have a plan to come up with French and Spanish, and there are other languages planned.
Oh, wow.
down the road.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay.
With the insurance product, the only problem is not the language. The problem is whether we're going to go in Quebec, for example. And yes, that's in the long-term plan, but it's not immediate. It's not going to be this year.
Okay.
Perhaps we're not even sure about next year. I think we're probably going to end up. I'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about the roadmap. But
Okay.
we'll probably expand outside of Quebec first. Quebec has a lot of regulations that make it a little bit more difficult to do business there.
Right.
So we're going to have to wait a little bit before we venture there. But we do have contacts in Quebec that can help us in the insurance industry, like strong candidates and contacts there that will help us once we're ready to get in.
Right. And just one final question from Alana. This isn't transferable from, like, if you have a client with an existing policy with Manulife, for example, for 400 grand, you can't rebalance that policy, or can you?
So that's a good question. It's a bit of a tricky one to answer. The short answer is yes, we can.
Oh, okay.
But it may not necessarily work out best for both clients. So we look at the situation and see, okay, can we do it? Does it make sense to do it for all parties, or should we just scrap it and start a new one and make sure that it's set up properly for everyone?
Yeah.
It would be a question that would have to be addressed on a case-by-case basis.
I think, for me, talking to clients about life insurance, it causes a lot of anxiety. And, say maybe you've got a wee bit heavier and you're getting separated at a time in your life where you've got extra few pounds, and then you're worried about getting life insurance and qualifying. I think that is a real concern for people. So you would talk them through that sort of thing too.
Absolutely. We have licensed advisors to do that, but we have also gone out of our way to make sure that we sign up. Some of those carriers for example, don't require any medical checkups. Some are quite fast. You fill in the application within 2 days, you've got it done.
Really? Okay.
Some are all online and touch free, because especially with COVID now, a lot of them are trending in that direction.
Yeah.
So a lot of them have made a serious effort to avoid those concerns and anxieties of their clients, and we certainly facilitate that.
That's nice. All right.
Yeah, I want to add on two other fast points here, Marianne.
Okay.
One is we're showing the yearly policy date declining values, but it could be done on a monthly basis very, very easily. So we have the facility to do it. If somebody says it ends at the end of, say, August 2028, very simple. The second thing I want to say is that we're showing an even decline. So every month is showing 7.317%, or $17,926.83 per year. Sorry. We have the ability you can create very intricate support agreements. Let's say that as the kids drop off, the spousal support starts to increase for longer marriages. We have the ability to actually change the percentages or change the amount, so that as long as it always adds up to, in this case, $245,000 for Nancy Wall, it doesn't need to decline on exact amount on a monthly or yearly basis.
Nice. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thank you. All right, so I'll move on to the next to the last portion of the presentation. Just wanted to kind of introduce you quickly to the executive team. So that's our executive team here. You see Stephen, you see myself, but we have Mike Hamilton, who's our VP of Product Development. We've got Michael Durance, who's our VP of Corporate Development and Capital Development. Gord, who's responsible for finance, and David Disher is our senior insurance advisors here advisor in Ontario. We're also in negotiations with 4 other advisors across the country to help us as we expand. A quick comment on our competitive landscape. So there are other software providers, but we noticed that the competitive landscape is fairly fragmented. We have, for example, they have solutions that don't quite address all aspects of the family law as we do. They don't they don't cover support payments protection, for example. As you pointed out, Marianne, both co-parents must agree to pay with the competition. With us, we don't. We differentiate ourselves that way. On the insurance side, the insurance industry, and I think Steve mentioned that a little earlier, it just doesn't gel well with the family law industry. And so we're trying to create that marriage between the two that only we're able to create. The only insurance carrier out there, for example, that provides any kind of declining balances is Investors Group.
Industrial Alliance.
Industrial Alliance. And it's a declining balance. It's not a rebalancing product. And the problem with that is you end up paying you end up saving a little bit, but your benefits are declining quite a bit over time. Where with a rebalancing product, you've already secured that face value upfront, and it doesn't decline. It simply shifts. It rebalances itself from one beneficiary to 1 or 2 others. So where our competitive advantage is that we're designed by a deeply experienced professional. Steve has more than 20 years in the industry, has seen all these problems, and has specifically worked to target those nuances. We have partnerships with major insurance carriers and family law associations, which is helping us kind of move forward on this in a big way. And our solution is made to be scalable and modular. And as I mentioned, we have this patent as well. So let's tell you a little bit about our roadmap. I hope this is not too small to see. So in terms of our My2Families product, the collaboration tool, we've beta released this in January of this year. We have now market released it earlier this month. So it's now officially out there. It's market ready. And we have a mobile version that's also coming out in August. So all of these would be available on your phone as well. So that's for the software product. For the insurance product, we have launched in Ontario in May. We're working to launch in British Columbia. We've already registered. We're just waiting for our license, corporate license to be approved there in British Columbia. And that's where we're going next. And then after that, Alberta. And then we're going to go into the USA. That's next year, planned for next year. And then the rest of Canada will also happen in parallel starting next year as well. Our website, I'm excited to say, is being revamped and will be released. I'm hoping within a week, maybe 2 at most. We'll have this new website that's a lot slicker than what we've got today. And we have other products also planned. So we have My2Families for employers, where we're going to target employers to offer it as an offering to their employee benefit plans. We also have My2Families Professional. That would be a version that targets professionals such as yourselves, where, for example, I'll give you an example just to make a point here. Let's assume you have 3 clients of yours, all of whom have used our product, My2Families. You would be able, if you're approved or invited by one of the parents to see that ecosystem of that family, you would be able to log in and actually see that family, what's going on. But if you have 3 or 4 or more, you don't want to keep logging in and out of these different platforms. So we give you a portal, basically. It's going to be a professional portal that allows you from that one single sign-on and portal to view as many families as you're supporting. So that will make it a little easier for you to to work as a professional there. And then we will also adding a professional directory as well, where you can advertise yourself on our platform as a professional that they can come to, and that would make it easier for co-parents as well to see who they need and go there. And to wrap things up, Steve already mentioned that our software product is sold for $15 a month or $150 a year. We actually offer it for free initially for a trial period. And I'll get into that on the next slide. For the insurance, we offer, there's no incremental cost to using our product. So just whatever the insurance product is by the insurance carrier, we just pass it on as is. We just make our money on commission. And we even have an investment round open now that to kind of allow us to scale and grow. And finally, this is our last slide. What we're suggesting here or asking you is to try our My Two Families product. You can get a free copy from us. We'll give you a free license and you can use it for as long as you want to try it out, to see if it's a good fit for your clients. But not only that, upon request, we'll also be happy to give you a promo code, a 3 months free promo code that you can offer to your clients so that you can get them to install it and use it for 3 months for free. And then that's a special promotion that we're doing to family law associations such as yourselves, in case that makes sense to you. And finally, we have seen lawyers who have taken verbiage from us or from our website and put it right into their separation agreements to encourage their clients to use our product. And it has turned into them becoming a client of ours and asking for our insurance package or otherwise. So again, if you're interested in that, we'd be more than happy to provide some of that verbiage to you and allow you to do that as well, if that makes sense to you. And I'll stop here and see if you have any questions to wrap up this conversation.
You left the best to the end, I think, Stephen and Meg. That's wonderful. Like this, to be able to test it like that and to have clients to be able to use it. It's such a interesting, unique tool, Canadian based, and it seems like this is something that a lot of us could benefit from using to pass it on. I'm not seeing questions in the chat yet, so if anyone doesn't want to use the chat and just wants to unmute themselves, you can ask questions. I guess for the two of you, what the court connected thing you just talked about is sort of using the language and is it the hope that this product to be something that's got a really big uptake? And because our Family Wizard kind of oddly has slipped into the language of a lot of court orders, I understand, and it being not a Canadian product, you're sort of hoping the product kind of slides in a Canadian way.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, our Family Wizard is one of the main competitors. We've heard over and over again from lawyers and family law professionals that they've got several shortcomings and people are not as comfortable with some aspects of the product. I'm sure it has a great following as well, but we've tried to zero in on on these points and try and address them in our product so that we do differentiate ourselves as more suitable, more comprehensive. We believe we offer more functionality overall for a cheaper price for the family. And so, and by offering, again, it for free for 3 months, it gives people a sense of, what it really, really looks like and feels like and works like before they even have to make a commitment. So we're hoping that would make a big difference. And yeah, it will be in the pudding.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, trials are amazing, right? So that you can just sort of like dip your toe in the water and see what it's like for your clients beforehand. And then to, give something to your clients, like, it could be a way to resolve some conflict around communication that sort of gives them this opening to give it a try with not a lot of strings attached, really. I mean, just see what happens with it. And so the members would email you directly, and that's your email address up there?
That's correct. I did neglect to put Steve's as well. Steven's is srosenfield@cometoagreement.com.
No, it's actually Stephen at cometoagreement.com, Nick.
Oh.
You used the connecting, right? It's Stephen.
Stephen with a PH. Okay,
With a
so
PH.
Stephen at cometoagreement.com or msod at cometoagreement.com, and sod has 2 A's, right?
Yeah. So one of the comments you get asked a question about our Family Wizard. I'll give you an example on a technical basis. The way their system is set up, each time somebody's invited as a user, they're given 1 gigabyte of space. If somebody sends out information to 3 or 4 or 5 users on the system, it will use up a portion of that 1 gigabyte for each individual user. Having an ecosystem like what we've done is we start off with 10 gigabytes of overall space for everybody. So if you send out to 7 different people on the ecosystem, you're only using the information once. So the ability to be able to save a lot more data on our system is really, really good because of the way we've set it up in terms of the technical side. You know, I'm a family mediator by training. I understand how to solve problems, how to deal with certain situations with kids. Meg is a technical genius when it comes to how we do things from a technical point of view. And between the two of us, we've solved the technical side and the family mediation and family law sides of problems.
That's excellent. Thanks very much. That's like a really good back end tidbit. I know it's 2, so people may have to leave, but Chantal had the question, are you okay if they link directly from their mediation website to yours to refer clients?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. We can definitely talk about the details. By the way, I'm going to send this presentation to everyone. I'll send it to you, Marianne, and maybe you can pass it on.
Yeah. So the way that I do it here is there's always so many people. And if you would like the presentation, you can email me directly. Everyone should know, I think, my email by now, director@oafm.on.ca, or go through the site and email me and I'll be happy to send you the presentation. We're also going to post this on OAFM website. I'll share it with you, Stephen and Mag, and it'll also be on the resources page of the OAFM website and on our YouTube channel, which I think has had a few views, and 2 of them have been my mom. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Thank you so much.
Sounds great, Marianne.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your time with us, Meg and Steve. This is a wonderful product.
Great. Thanks very much, everybody.
All right, take care.
Have a great day.
Bye. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.